Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Let's talk about Code.org Computer Science Discoveries Lesson 13 Mini Project Animation. So this mini project is going to feel a lot like Lesson 10 mini project with one major exception. That exception is in Lesson 13 mini project, we are looking for at least four movements, and one of them has to be a counter pattern. So the question of the day for this lesson is how can we combine different programming patterns to make a complete animation. So you've got a lot of flexibility and freedom with this lesson. You just got some basic criteria and constraints that you have to meet. The first being that I have to have some type of evidence of pre-planning. So that's what Bubble 2 is about. It's giving you opportunities and time to think about it. So you know me, I've got a variety of ways that you can solve this. Way number one, you can complete the activity guide that goes along with Lesson 13 that's posted in Google Classroom. This activity guide invites you to type out a short description and get some planning, some prep drawn out on a mock Game Lab grid and give some sprite labels and animations, and then there's some reflection questions at the end. Option number two, you can draw it out on a piece of paper if you're more inclined to use paper pencil. Take a picture of it with your iPad and then upload it to me through Google Classroom. Option three, create a flip grid. Send me the video where you explain to me what your lesson 13 is going to look like and what elements you're going to include in that lesson. And then final option is create your own Google Doc, type it out the way you want it to look, what you want to say, and then send that to me as well. So once again, lesson 13 is going to feel a lot like lesson 10.
Coach Yoder, please call 230.
You're going to include some similar elements here. You're going to plan your scene in Bubble 3. If this will load. All right, so plan your scene, sketch it out, plan the movements, think about what kind of random number or counter patterns you're going to use, what elements are going to be moving on your screen. Take a look at creating a background. So remember, background can be done in two ways. You can either use the simple background where you go in the drawing drawer and use a background color, or don't forget, you have an entire drawer here. See, I'm using space. You have an entire drawer of backgrounds. Okay, you set those up as sprites. So they've got a few different rules, but still applicable in this situation. All right, so you start with your background in level 4 background. Level 5 is where you add the sprites to your scene. And remember, all of these levels are connected, so what you do to one will show up on the other. You know this because you got this little infinity symbol in the middle of your workspace. So here's where you plan out your sprites. I happen to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprites. And then I also, the fifth sprite is my background. So the fifth sprite also counts as my background. So I got 4 sprites of background. I've also included some text, and I've included some shapes. You're welcome to do the same. Level 6 here of lesson 13 is where you add the text. And again, it doesn't really matter. You're walking through these levels just to remind you that you need these things. But if you choose to hop to the end and add them all in, that's okay too. All right, so here's where you add your text to the scene. Level 7 is where you add movement. This is going to be the big part because this is the new part of lesson 13. Lesson 10 and lesson 13 feel the same, except for lesson 13, you've got to add movement to your sprites. And then finally, you review your animated scene before you submit it. All right, this is again worth 25 points in the gradebook for me, just like lesson 10. I expect it'll take you 2 to 3 days to work on this, just to get all your animations underway, especially if you plan to draw any of your animations. And I'm going to hit run just so you can see an example mini project animation. So here's my example. And notice my counter pattern. I've actually used 3 counter patterns. I've got 1 jiggle pattern, And then I'd actually set my background to space, and I've got some errors here that I've got to correct. Like I have a computer, and I have a table, and I have words, and none of them are showing up right now. So I've got to figure out what I did wrong with my variable space, which is my background. So if you know, drop me a comment below and help me fix my own bug in my programming. Other than that, welcome to lesson 13. Have fun with it, enjoy, make it your own, and I'll see you later.